sending an email through the workflows. So agenda for today would be, we're going to talk about the workflow, the remaining stuff that we can do. We can send an update, like let's say if you want to update a particular field, you can do that. We already seen how to send an email and how to create email templates as well. So if you wanted to do an update on a particular field, let's say if a new position gets created and somebody wants to set up the minimum pay on the position or the location for the position every time a new position gets created, you can do an update. And the third one that we had was assigning a particular task. So let's say there is a new candidate comes and he's looking for a position, and you wanted to create a task for Vinish, that okay, she has to work on hiring that candidate for a particular position. So basically you can create or assign a task using the workflow as well. So these are the workflow things. And then I also told you there was an outbound messages, which we have just a little bit about it. We cannot demo it because we need another system to talk. So outbound message is nothing but when we talk to another system and we wanted to send some updates to that, and then the system gets those messages every 1 day, every 24 hours, and then they can store it in their database, and then they can do something with those information. So today we're going to see how to send a particular update if you wanted to update a particular field using a workflow, and also we'll cover the how to assign a particular task for someone. After this, we'll also talk about the approval process. Now, what is the difference between the workflow and the approval process? In the workflow, you don't need an approval from someone. Okay, that is something automatic. Both the things are automatic. Even the workflow is basically to automate your process. Even the approval process is also helpful for you. Automate the process. But in the approval process, you need the approval. So you need somebody's interaction with it. So once somebody approves a particular position, and then, or either if he rejects this, what kind of things they need to do. If somebody approves it, does it needs to get approved from other people as well. So approval process needs the human interaction, and then it's also an automation process. It's also automate the things for you, but that needs a human interaction, whereas the workflow does not need a human interaction. So let's go ahead and see how to update a particular field. So we'll go back here to our Salesforce account. So we'll log into login.salesforce.com, and this is our account. Is this the account that we were using? I think so, right? So here, if we go back to the go to the setup here, and on the left hand side type in workflow rules, and in the workflow rules we have already gone through them, what workflow rules and what are the workflow what they can do. So this time we're going to see the field update. So if you wanted to update the value of a field on a record, then we can do that through the workflow, and go ahead and hit the continue button. So here I wanted to create a new rule, and in this rule, let's say for every time a new candidate comes in, let's say for every time a new candidate comes in, I wanted to go ahead and update the let's see what we can do. Something else to see. I just want to see what can we do it on position, because once you have record types, then it gets little, yeah. So just leave it like that. For the candidates, okay, we don't have anything like that. So we'll go back here and we will work on the candidate. So let's say I wanted to update a particular field on the candidate whenever a new candidate comes. Hit the next button. And then what is the name of the rule? Let's say let me see what fields they have, so we can say we can make something out of it. If we go to the candidates here, let's say automatically every time the country of the candidate, I wanted to make it as United States. Okay, so that is I wanted to update the country for United States, and let's go back here. Update the country. So then we have is when you want to evaluate that thing. So when you want to fire this thing. So do you want to fire it at whenever every time a new candidate comes? Do you want to do that? Or do you also want to do it every time it's edited? So anytime, the candidate email changes or his information changes, you wanted to update again and again. We don't want to do those kind of things. So what we're going to do is we'll just wanted to make sure that it is created, and if it meets some criteria. Okay, if the candidate meets this criteria, I wanted to fire this workflow rule. So what is the criteria here? Let's say if the candidate country equals nothing, means if the candidate has not put any information in the has not put any information for the country, I wanted to update it to my value. Okay, so this is what I wanted to do. So whenever the candidate he hasn't filled up any information related to country, I wanted to go ahead and fire this workflow. Save and next. Okay, there was, I think, session issue. So now what we want to do, so what is the rule criteria here? Every workflow will have a rule criteria, and what is the evaluation criteria? So the rule criteria says if the candidate has not provided any country, means he has not provided the country information, this is when this particular workflow will take place. The workflow action will take place. So whenever the country is equals to null, that's when I will update my particular field of that. So what I'm going to do, I want you to do a field update. So these are the things you can do. I want you to do a field update here. Now here what you want to do, let's say the new field update means define the field update which for the particular candidate, which field do you want to update. So let's say the field that I wanted to update is the country. Update the country. And what is the value that you want to put it? Let's say I wanted to put it as United States. So this is if you want to put it as a blank value, you can do that. If you wanted to have a specific or a default value, you can do it as well. So, and this is the checkbox, guys, reevaluate workflow rules after the field change. Means, do you, every time if somebody has put it United States and then they come and edit it, do you want to again go ahead and evaluate it? No, we don't want to do that. So one time if the candidate has left the field as blank, I wanted to update it to the United States, and if he changes again and if he leaves it empty, then it will still remain empty if you didn't check this checkbox. You know what I'm saying? So they reevaluate the workflow every time the field changes. So let's say initially it was empty. Let me explain you. So what is this checkbox is doing? Let's say initially the field, whenever you created a new candidate, this particular country was empty. So our rule says that if the person has not filled any information, I wanted to do an action, and the action is going to be a field update, and the field is going to update to United States. Now let's say he again came to this, once he has created this record, he went ahead and he changed it to blank again. This time, if you have not checked this checkbox, it will not be evaluated and it will not fire that. If this checkbox is not checked. If the checkbox is checked and you still has blank it, then every time it is blank, it will update to United States. Okay, so this is what it is doing. So now, if you reevaluate after the field change, if you want to do that, it'll do, and then let's go ahead and hit the save button. So now what we have done here is we have created this workflow action, and this is also a time independent because it is going to fire immediately. It's not going to be fired after 10 days or 15 days or whatever, because this is a time independent one. So this, what we are doing here is whenever the rule criteria says if the country is equals to null, I wanted to update a field, and then hit the done button and then activate it. Okay, so done, activated. So now what we're going to do is, let me just explain you one more time what we did. We went to the setup, okay, and then on the left hand side we wanted to update a field through a workflow, and the field that we wanted to update is candidate country field. And what you wanted to update, we wanted to update it to United States whenever the field value is empty. That's when. But if the candidate has filled his if the candidate has filled his information, we don't want to fire the workflow. We only wanted to fire the workflow if the candidate country is equals to null, means empty. The field is empty. Now what we're going to do is we typed in workflow rule here. So we went here and we typed in workflow. This is workflow rules, and then we hit the continue button. and then we created a new rule here. Okay, this is what we did. We created a new rule here, and then what you have to do, you just have to provide for which object you wanted to go ahead and create the rule. These are the different objects we have. So we selected the candidate from here, hit the next button. What is the name of the rule? Means what is the rule is what you can name it anything. And when you want to evaluate this criteria, so you wanted to evaluate it every time the record is created and it meets our condition. That's what we wanted to do. So here, this is the rule criteria that we have set up, that if the user has not provided any country information, then I wanted to update my particular field. Okay, are you guys following so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now what we're going to do is we'll just, I think, let me see if we have activated the rule, because if we have not activated, there's no point of creating the rule. So if you go ahead and we have to activate it. So let me deactivate this one because I don't want to confuse you guys. So we just wanted to make this one as the active. Update the country is the active one now. Okay, and the other one is deactivated. You can have as many, there's no restrictions on how many workflow rules can be activated or anything like that. You can have multiple active workflow rules. Okay. So now what is, we're going to go ahead and create a new candidate here. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and create a candidate called Shikha. Last name is Gupta. Phone number is okay. So we are leaving the country field as empty. Okay, and hit the save button. So now what will happen is the workflow rule will get triggered, and what will it do? It will update it to United States because the country field was empty, so it is updated to the United States. Okay. Now what we're going to do again, we're going to go ahead and do it for the negative criteria. So let's say I create another one. Okay, and then I will leave it as country is France. Okay, so now let's go ahead and hit the save button. So in this case, it has not updated it to anything because the rule criteria does not meet. So it has not updated it. So let's say because we have the checkbox checked, and let's say we edit this one and we remove it. Let's say I went ahead and edit this particular record and I make it blank. Now it meets the criteria, right? It meets the criteria. Now let's see if it's evaluated. So now because we have the checkbox checked, that's why what it did was every time you change the value on the particular field and it matches the criteria, it has updated it to United States. Okay. So this is what you can do through the workflow. This is like updating a particular field through the workflow. Any questions? Do you want me to repeat anything, guys?
So one question, I do have a question. So if somebody does fill the country field, then it won't get updated to the United States, only when it's blank that it's
Yeah, that's what our rule criteria says, yeah. If the country field is blank, that's when it's going to go ahead and update it to United States. If the country field is having some value, it's not going to update it. But if you update it again and you make that empty, then it will update to United States again. So basically, it'll have some country value or it will be updated to United States. That's what this is doing. Did you get it? Okay. So this is the how to create the workflow, and what we saw was updating a particular field using a workflow. Okay, now guys, you can do lot many criteria here. So what we did was we only mentioned country is blank. You can have as many criteria as you want. Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out.
Okay, I don't know why, but there was everything went mute. How about now? Okay, okay, good. I see two of my presenter. I don't know why. That's fine. If you guys can hear me, that's all I care. Okay, so the next thing what we have is if you go to the setup, and we were talking about creating a particular task for someone. So let's say you have 4 people in your team, and they one responsibility of one person is every time a new position gets created, somebody needs to work on filling up that position. Okay, or if a new candidate comes, you need to make a one-on-one phone call with the candidate, let's say, to talk about what he's looking for, what is his billing rate, and all those kind of stuff. Okay, so this also we're going to go it on the candidate as well. So what we are going to do here is whenever a new candidate comes, I wanted to make sure that, okay, somebody from my team communicate with the candidate, know what he's looking for, what is his rate, and what is his like educational requirements and all those kind of stuff. Okay, so that is a particular task I wanted to assign to someone. Okay, so what we can do is every time this particular candidate comes, and let's say he belongs to a certain region, or let's say certain and we have different candidate, different team members for one region and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so what we wanted to do here is whenever let's say Benish came as a candidate, and she lives in Dallas. So what we wanted to do here is whenever so I wanted someone from the Dallas region, okay, to go ahead and talk to him. Okay, so go ahead and talk to the candidate. So somebody from our team will talk to Benish. So this is basically a task. So let's say Ram is working on finishing the task. So you can assign the task to anyone in your team. Okay, you can particularly create a queue. Queue is nothing but group of people. You can put it as in a particular queue, and then what we'll do, so from Ram belongs to this queue, so let's say Ram is taking care of this Binish. So what will happen is Ram will be getting a notification that you have a task to complete, and then he can also update the task that, hey, I finished it, and all those kind of stuff. Okay, this is what we can do to create a task using a workflow. So let's take a look at it, which will give you a better idea. So let me go back and go to the setup, and we wanted to create another workflow rule here. And in this, I wanted to go ahead and do a task. So what does this do? Assign a new task to a user, to a particular role, or to a record owner. So you can assign a task to a particular user in your company. You can assign it to a particular role. So anyone who belongs to hiring manager role will get this, will have to work on the task. You can do those kind of things. Or the record owner. So who created the record, he will be the one who will be taking care of that particular task. Go ahead and hit the continue button. Then we'll go ahead and make this one as also as deactivate, because we wanted to make one rule as active. So let's go ahead and create a new rule here. Which object that you want to work on? Let's say I wanted to work on the candidate object. So we're going to go ahead and work on the candidate object, hit the next button. And what I wanted to do here is new candidate comes. Okay, whenever the new candidate comes, assign a task for user. Okay, now what it is, so if the candidate comes and let's make it more. Okay, if a candidate comes from this particular state, okay, let's say if the candidate comes from Texas, okay, if a candidate comes from Texas, go ahead and hit the save and next button. So what I'm going to do is I wanted to create, now this is the criteria. This is the criteria that whenever a candidate gets created and it meets this criteria, okay, specifically that he should belong from Texas. What I wanted to do is I wanted to create a task. Now for whom you wanted to create the task? So here, whom you wanted to create the task, you can go ahead and pick it up from this list. These are all the users that you have in your application. Okay, you can search by the user, you can search by a particular role, and if you wanted to search by the owner of these are the different roles that we have, so you can search by a particular role. And next is by the owner of that particular candidate owner, whoever has created the record. Okay, so let's say we want to do it for a particular user, and let's say we have, let's say Priyanka Chopra is the one who is going to go ahead and take care of this. Okay, she's the one who is going to go ahead and take care of this particular candidate. Subject, communicate with the candidate over phone. Okay, and then what is the time you have to finish it? You have to finish it by, let's say, whenever the candidate gets created, you have 5 days to communicate. Okay, so by the created date, so let's say it got created today, you have 5 days to go and make the phone call with him. Okay, and then what we have is status is, you can change the status of this. It's basically, we can say in progress. Priority is normal. It's a normal priority, and this is the task that I wanted to go ahead and create, or we can say not started. This is the first thing. The status would be not started, and hit the priority button. And then what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and hit the save. So this is the action that I wanted to do. So what we have done here is, whenever the candidate comes into our system and he's equals to he belongs to Texas, then I wanted to assign the task to Priyanka, and she needs to communicate with the candidate over the phone. So this is the action that I've created. Now hit the done button, and then what we're going to do is we're going to activate this particular thing. Okay, so this is what we have. Now let's go ahead and log in as Priyanka. Let's see if we are able to log in. That's the first thing. So log into Salesforce. Or let me see if we have Priyanka. We have. So what I'm going to do is, I'll first go ahead and create a new candidate. Okay, and we'll say it as Deepika. Okay, and the state, that is our workflow, state is equals to Texas. Okay, and whatever you want to do it, and hit the save button. So now I have created a new candidate. Now let's see what happens. So you can see there is an activity got open. Okay, so you can track it, that what is the status right now of my task. Right now it has not yet started. Okay, and this is the task, this is the subject of the task, and it has been assigned to Priyanka Chopra. Okay, you getting it? This is what it is. Now we have this is what we have is the candidate stuff. This is the candidate we have created. It meets the criteria, and it has to assign to Priyanka Chopra. So now next thing is, let's go back and create a new candidate which does not meet the criteria. So let's say we hit the new button, and this time we call it as and then we go back here, and this time it does not meet the criteria. Let's say it belongs to Maryland. Okay, and then we hit the education whatever, and then hit the save button. So this time it does not meet the criteria, so it will not create any activity for you. Okay, there's no activity got created. The other one meets the criteria, so it created the task for you to track. Okay, so now if I log out and log in back again as Priyanka, let's see what happens. So if I log out and log in back again as Priyanka and hit the login button, so now what you'll see here is, if I go back to so first thing is, okay, let me just see if we got an email as well. Okay, so this person has been also getting an email. So first thing, he'll also get an email that, okay, this is the thing that you need to go ahead and take care. Okay, so first, and then also whenever he logs in, I just want to make sure on the dashboard he should see it. So in the dashboard there will be an activity stuff that he will see that, okay, this is the activity that I need to work on. So let me see. Okay, so if I go back to my email and let's see if I click on this one, what happens. It will take me to the level of access is to perform the operation you request is please contact the owner of the record or your administrator if access is necessary for more information. Why is getting the insufficient privileges? Because usually you will get it here. One way would be if you go to the particular candidate and then you search for the particular candidate that you just created. So if you go back here, what was the name of the candidate which belonged to Texas? Do you remember? Why are we not getting the activity stuff here? Maybe it does not have the permission. Okay, let me assign it to someone else because maybe this person does not have those permissions. So if I go to Binish, because we have different licenses, so those yeah, see, he has items to approve and all that. Okay, so and it also has my task, so maybe we have to assign it to because sometimes things happen because of the different profiles they have. So the Priyanka Chopra does not have enough privileges because it belongs to different license, but Binish has because on the Priyankas you were only able to see the calendar. There were no tasks and there were no items to approve and all that. So what I'm going to do here is I will log out and log in back again as system admin and assign my task to Binish instead of Priyanka. So I will log out and I'll go back to my Deepika demo. And I will go to my workflow. Okay, and in the workflow, instead of Priyanka, I will assign it to Binish. So if you go back here, continue. If you want to edit it, okay. So this time I wanted to assign it to Binish. Everything will remain same, but the only thing is she's the one who's going to take care. Okay, hit the save button. So now let's go back and let's go ahead and hit the candidates and create a new candidate here. So I will create another one. And then this time the state belongs to Texas and hit the save button. So now what will happen, there will be activity gets created and this will be assigned to Binish Sharif and what will happen is she will also get an email, and this is the place that she can go ahead and access the record. See, this time they didn't get it complained, because the other time when we were logged in as Priyanka, there was insufficient privileges because the profile that she belongs to doesn't have those kind of permissions. So here, this is the task that she needs to work on. Okay, so this is the task that she needs to work on. So what she can do is she can finish it up, she can call it, or whatever the task that has been provided to her. She can edit it. Right now the status is not started. She can go ahead and put it as completed. So what will happen is on Deepika, when she logs in, and she will know that, okay, this particular task has been finished. So if you go back here and go to this particular candidate information, you will see that the status has been updated, and that has been updated to completed. Now, if you log out and log in back again as the finish, what you will see here at her in the task history, you will see the task assigned to her. So if you log in and log in back and you go to her dashboard, let's see why she's not seeing it again. Maybe we put it into the complete status, that's why. So maybe that's the reason. Now let's go back here. So this is what she did. So now if you go back to the particular candidate, and if she hits the candidate information, and let's say she goes to this one. Okay, so now this is the particular activity that she has. So now she can go ahead and update the task. It's in the completed status. So this is what you're going to do. So what happens is you can assign a particular task to someone. They can work on it. They can update the status. You will get an email when somebody assigns you a task, and then you can work on the task, and then you can update that particular task to complete the status. So the other person will know that, okay, you have finished the work. Does it make sense, guys? Let me do one more example to make it better understand. So let's log out and log in back again, and this time I will also create another task for Vinesh again. So okay, this is just the overview of what we did. So now if I go back and if I go to the workflow, create a particular workflow rule. So we'll hit the continue button here, and this is deactivated right now. Hit the new rule here, and let's say account that I wanted to work on is employment websites, or let's see, there's another one. Okay. So if there is a new employment website comes, or like a job portal comes, I wanted to go ahead and post my job opportunities to that website. Okay, new. So the post new positions. Next thing is, what is the criteria here? The criteria is if the employment website created by, or we can say greater or equal to, or we can just leave it to the other one. If there is a web address equals blank. So if the web address is equals to blank, It's just the criteria. Hit the save and next button. Then this is the action I wanted to do. I wanted to assign it to Binish, and she will be working on. So if I go back here, if I assign it to Binish here, post new job postings. So this is the task that she has to do. The due date is going to be the today's whatever this particular record has been created plus 10 days. So she has 10 days to finish it, and then it is the normal priority and hit the save button. So this is the task that she needs to work on. So whenever a new employment website comes where the website name is equals to, or the web address is equals to null, that's when she has to go ahead and take care of the post new job postings, okay, on that particular website. So then hit the done button here and activate it. So this is my rule criteria, and the action is I have to go ahead and create a task. And I think I didn't assign it to anyone yet. Okay, I did to Binish. So now she's done. So now what will happen is if I go to the employment website, create a new employment website, let's say google.com, web address is null, and hit the save button, what will happen is, first of all, this is the activity that got created. Okay, priority is normal, assigned to Binish, and I must have gotten an email regarding to work on that position. So if I go back here, this is you have to put the new job posting. This email is for Binish. She will get the email, and then she has to work on this particular record. So now what will I do is I will log out and log in back again as Binish. So if I go back here and if I log in back again as Binish, hit the login button, and see here she sees the task that got created. Okay, because since the task was already completed last time, we were not seeing it. Okay, so now this is the task. Whenever she comes to her home page and if she scrolls down, she will see the task. Okay, now you can click on this particular task, you can edit it, you can work on it, so she can track it, and then once she is finished, she can update the status to, let's say, in progress, and then what will happen is then the admin will know that, okay, she's working on this particular task. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions on this one? So what will happen is whenever a new task gets created, you will get an email for whom the task is, but automatically. Second thing is you will be able to see the task that you have to work on in your home page, and then you can, even under the candidates for that particular record, let's say you created a particular record, if you go under that record, you will see what, sorry, it was under employment websites. So if you go back here and if you click on this Google, you will see that there is an open activity section here. So you, even under that record, you will be able to see the information related to that. But people don't know that, okay, I have a particular activity to finish. So the home page is another way to go to and see what are your open tasks. And then it will, or once the task becomes completed, then you will not see here. Okay. So this is the place, and then you will also get an email. So these are the things happen when you create a particular task for someone. Is everyone okay with the information? Any confusion, any doubts? Do you want me to repeat anything? So this is about the workflows. Shikha, is Shikha there? Koti, Binish, Amya. Where's Amya? I haven't seen him. Is he here?
I'm right here.
Okay, okay. Okay, where's Shikha? Okay, I think she just left or something. Okay, that's fine. So any questions on the workflow? Okay, so now what we'll do is let's move to the next topic. And let's talk about the approval process. So here if I log in back again as Deepika demo. Okay, approval process. Okay, there are two ways of creating an approval process. Okay, and they're multi-step approval process. Okay, so let's say guys, there is what happens when an approval process gets created. Let's say there is a particular position. Okay, a position gets created. If the maximum pay on the position, is greater than, if the maximum pay of the position is, let's say, is greater than 100,000, then it just needs an approval from the manager. Okay, So if the maximum pay is greater than, so there is a condition here. The condition is if the pay is greater than 100,000, then whose approval is needed? It will go ahead and approved by the, it needs an approval from, let's say, manager. Now manager can approve it and can reject it. Okay, he can approve it and he can reject it. Now if he approves it, so another important thing, whenever a particular approval process gets created, there is a button called submit for approval. Okay, and you have to hit this submit button when, if you want it to get approved. There is a button that pops up once you have an approval process handy for that particular object. Then there is a submit for approval button. Okay, submit for approval button, and when you hit the submit for approval button, that record gets locked. These are important things. So once the record gets locked, that means that particular record is under the approval process. Okay, now what happens is, once, and you will not be able to make any changes. You will see a lock sign on the top of that record that shows that, okay, this particular record is locked because it's in the approval process. So now what happens is, you create a particular record. There is a condition that if the particular position maximum pay is greater than 100,000, it needs an approval from the manager. Now let's say this is a one-step process. So if it needs an approval, then okay, if he approves it, okay, that particular record gets approved. That's it. If it goes to rejected. So when we need approval process, that's a good question. We need approval processes when you need these kind of stuff. Like see here, in this kind of stuff, let's say in workflow, what happens is, let's say what you did was every time a new candidate comes, you wanted to file an email, right? That was like too generic. Here you need a human interaction. Okay, if he approves it, if there is a record that has a condition of greater than 100,000, then it has to be reviewed by manager. Okay, so that you need those kind of things. So if it needs an approval, and based on if he approves it or rejects it, you have certain things to do. So if he approves it, he also needs an approval from, let's say, senior manager. Okay, then let's say another thing is, if it is greater than 100,000, it needs a manager. If it is, again, the position is greater than 150, then it needs the approval from yeah. So the Binish's question is, every workflow will need approval process. No, every workflow will not need approval process. So whenever you need a human to approve a particular thing or a particular, so let's say you applied for a PTO. Okay, let's say if the PTOs is greater than, every time, let's say your manager has set a workflow that, okay, every time somebody asks for 2 days off, okay, automatically approve it. Okay, that is you can do through workflow. Like, okay, whenever somebody asks for less than 2 days, then go ahead and approve that particular position. But let's say if he needs a vacation more than 1 week, then come and get an approval from manager. Okay, that is just one step. Now, if the vacation he's asking is more than a month, then I need to approve, and then also it has to be approved by the senior manager or my manager. So those are when you need an approval from someone, when you need somebody to say yes or no, and based on your yes or no, then if let's say he said yes, and you will get an email saying, hey, your vacation is approved, and based on, then you can have workflow in that also. You can add it within approval process, you can send an email. So that is a workflow as well as an approval process. You getting my point, Binish? Or was it too fast? Binish, are you getting it? So basically,
Yes.
okay. So basically, the approval process is when you need an approval from someone, and you can only have when you need an approval from someone. And the workflow is like, okay, there is a record created, it meets the criteria, and then just do this. You can use workflows along with the approval process. Okay, so let's say if the position gets, if my vacation gets approved, then I will send an email. That is a part of a workflow. So you can create workflows after that particular approval, if the approval has approved it. If he has rejected it, send an email to the candidate that your vacation is, that is a workflow. So you can use the approval process and workflows together. Workflows does not need any human interaction, does not need somebody to approve it. Here you need somebody to approve and reject it. There is a human interaction involved here. Okay, so that is the difference between a workflow and an approval process. Now, in approval process, you have to first submit the particular record for approval, and then that record gets locked, and then it goes through the whole process. Okay, so now there are a couple things that comes into picture when we create approval process. So first thing is, let's go back and type in, so you go to the setup here and you type in approval process. So you go to the approval process here. So which object do you want it to create the approval process? So what is, I always read this. Approvals are complex business process that require the information gathering and planning before implementing. It is recommended you follow these instructions. Okay, so you have already created email templates. We have done that. We have created a relationship also between the objects. Okay, there are two ways of creating the approval process. One is a jumpstart wizard and the other one is standard wizard. Jumpstart wizard is not recommended. Okay, it's not good because what happens, the jumpstart does not answer. It's basically the fast way of creating approval process. Standard wizard is it'll take a four or five pages. You have to answer all those different questions. What do you want to do when somebody approves it? What do you want to do when somebody rejects it? Is there a two-step process? Is there a second approval needed? So you can do all those things using a standard wizard. Jumpstart is just like a quick, or we can say it's a fast way of creating an approval process. Okay, so it will take a lot of things by default. It's too generic, Jumpstart wizard. So we'll go through both the wizard of creating an approval process. Okay, and then next thing is manage approval process for a particular, let's say we have a position, but the problem with that is I've already created a record types. Does anyone has a Salesforce account which does not have record types involved? Because I either have to go back and delete it. Sometimes it does not get deleted as easily. So if somebody can share me their username and password with who have created, I just need position, candidates, etc. And you don't have to do all the rules and anything. You don't need those kind of stuff. If you have just a couple of users, and then if you have a Salesforce account, then if you can share with me, that'll be great. Otherwise, I have to delete these record types, and that's kind of an issue here. Okay, Goti, can you give it to me? Okay, and also, do you have a couple users? Okay, let me just log out and log in back again. And what's the password? Cody, what's the password? Is it password 123? No. Can you reset the password and give it to me? Okay, so you must have gotten an email or something. And set up an easy one. Password 123 is the best to remember. Okay. Okay, verification code. sorry. Okay, thank you, Koti. So now what we have is, let's see if we have positions. We have different. Okay, very good. That's all we needed. Let's see if we have users. Okay, we don't have many users. That's fine. We'll create a new user. Okay. For the timing, just make one extra user I've created. Okay. Koti, go ahead and set up the same password for this particular.
What is that? Go.
It's deepikakhanna@gmail.com. Okay, you must have already got an email at this account, this one, and you just go ahead and set up the password Salesforce 1 or whatever. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we will talk about the approval process. So let's say my approval process says that whenever, this is the approval process, okay, approval process says whenever a position gets created, okay, whose maximum pay is greater than 150,000, then I need an approval from my manager. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. I need an approval from my manager here. Now, in this particular case, what happens is, in this particular case, we have a position which is greater than 150,000. We need an approval from the manager. Now, what will happen is we need to, first thing is we need to submit that record. It goes to the log state. And then what all records do you want this to be processed? Like, do you want every record to go ahead and evaluate? Or what do you want to do, which records to even go on through the approval process? Okay, so what does it mean is, let's say if the maximum pay is automatically 50,000, I don't need to look at it, just approve those. Okay, they don't have to go through the approval process, just approve those. So which records, there is another, which record do you want them to go through this approval process? So let's say any records who needs 100, who is between 100 and 150, they will only go through this manager's approval process. Okay, and then manager can approve it, can reject it. So now we're going to go ahead and create an approval process. To do that, we'll go on the left and we'll say approval process. Here, which object do you wanted to create it for? We wanted to create it for position object. Okay. Now this is the thing. So you have different, so we're going to go ahead and create a new approval process. There are two ways of creating an approval process. I told you, a jumpstart and a standard. Jumpstart is, it's a quick way of creating an approval process. It's a shortcut you can think like, okay. The Jumpstart wizard creates one-step approval process for you in just a few minutes. Okay, so one-step approval process means, okay, that it does not need any further approval. It needs an approval from one person, and that's all. It's a one-step approval process. Two-step means if that person approves it, then it will go to the next person. If that person approves it, it will go to the next person. So you can have multi-step approval process. It needs approval from multiple people, but in the multi-step, if the first one has rejected it, those others will not even go through. So those are the different ways that if manager has only rejected it, it won't go to the senior manager. Okay, so that is the multi-step approval process. In one-step approval process, it needs an approval from one person, and that's all. Okay, hit the name. Let's say the name is approval from Deepika. Okay, if you have an approval email template, let's say you already have an email template, and that is the email template that will be used. Hey, this, like if you have created an email template, okay, like something like, hey, this position needs an approval from you, so and so. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. We will just create this one. And then what is the entry criteria? So entry criteria means which records will enter through this criteria. This is important. Which records will enter the criteria means which reward. So any records which are less than 50,000, let's say, doesn't need to go through the approval process. Okay, so we will say the entry criteria is any record if the position maximum pay is greater than, let's say, 50,000, only those will enter this criteria. Okay, so those are the only record. Let's say there are 100 of records. Okay, and in 100 records, this is the thing. What will happen? Let me explain you. Let's say there are 100 records. Okay, out of them, 20 records have the maximum pay greater than, less than 50,000. Okay, have the maximum pay less than 50,000. There are 30 records which is greater than 50,000. Okay, and then there are about how many? 50 records which are greater than 100,000. So what is the entry criteria? Entry criteria means what all records will go through the approval process. So I have said my entry criteria is any records which are greater than 50,000. That means, sorry, greater than 50,000. That means what happens is only these 80 records will go through. Okay, only 80 records will go through the approval process. That's what it is. The rest of them will not even go, these 20 will not go through the approval process. It means these will not go through the entry, they won't be even entered the approval process. Does that mean, what you guys need to understand this entry criteria? Entry criteria means which records even are allowed to enter the approval process. Okay, and my entry criteria says I only want any records who are greater than 50,000. Those are the ones that I want through the approval process. And then some can be 80,000. Okay, and then some can be 120,000. So if my approval process is greater than 100,000 and needs an approval, then 80,000 does not even need the approval. Okay, so that is what it is. So let's say the position maximum pay is greater than 50,000. This is my entry criteria. So any record whose maximum pay is greater than 50,000 will enter the approval process. Now, so these are the, using the approver. What is the approver of this position? Whom you want this approval from? Do you want from a lot of people? Okay, you can have, let's say, an approval from all the VPs. There are VP of sales, let's say there is an opportunity, or let's say there is a deal, and that deal needs to be closed. And to close the deal, you need approval from VP of sales, VP of IT, VP of business, etc. Okay, so then there might be 4 or 5 people who needs the approval. Now you can decide that, okay, if one of the person approves it, that's fine, or do you need an approval from all of them? So you can even select those. Okay, so what does this do is, if an ambiguous one, so unambiguous means if one of the approval comes, you're good with it. You don't need to go through all the approval. Okay, so that's what it is. Automatically assigned to a queue. Queue means if there are multiple people in that queue, then that needs an approval from those people. So you can assign to multiple users. If you have a particular user that only you need an approval from one person, then you can assign a particular user as well. So you can do this lot of things. You can set the submitter who is submitting the position. You can select, okay, which the submitter of the position will be able to select who is the approver. Okay, if you select on the first radio button, means let's say I have created a position and I have submitted the position for approval process by hitting the submit button, then what will happen is I can select that, okay, who needs to approve it at that time. Or you can assign an approver using a particular customer hierarchy field. What does that mean is, by default you get a manager. So whoever is the manager of yours, okay, let's say you created it and your manager is Binish, then Binish will be approval of that thing. Okay, so automatically the manager will needs to approve it. If you have group of people, you wanted to assign it to a particular queue, then you can do that as well. If you have only one specific user that you want to assign, then you can go ahead and select this one. So here, let's say Deepika Khanna is the one, I wanted her to approve my position. She's the user, I want her to approve it. You can add multiple people as well. So here if I wanted to add Deepika, you can have multiple people, you can go ahead and do that. So then there are two ways. If there are multiple people, then there are two options. Do you want approve or reject based on the first response? Means if somebody has just responded, let's say you have 4 people who needs to approve, and out of them Deepika has only approved it. Do you want that as the final approval, or do you want it to go through each one of them? So it was unanimous means that you need everyone's approval. Okay, and require anonymous means you need, if there are 4 people you have set for approval, you will need the approval from all 4. If you have select the first one, means if the one of them has approved it, that's all you need. Okay, and a lot of time the question comes from this, what is the difference between this one and this one? Okay, so you need to select this anonymous word. I think that's one. Okay, so it will say when you need approval from all the people in the group or whatever, then you need, okay, anonymous one. You have to select. Okay, go ahead and hit the save button. Okay, now we need to, this is the approval process. So what we have done here is one-step approval process using the Jumpstart wizard. Okay, Jumpstart, we have not answered all of these questions. Although not required, it is recommended that you perform these different actions before activating your process to make it more functional. So right now what we have done is entry criteria is 150,000, needs an approval from Deepika Khanna, and the approval process is for which object? Position object. That's all we have defined. Now we'll go back and go look at it. So this is the whole workflow. Now what does it say here? Look at the diagram. There is a diagram also. So this diagram will give you a very good picture. Now what does this diagram say, guys? If that particular position meets the entry criteria. What is the entry criteria? Records are greater than 50,000. Okay, if meets it, yes. Then we will start the approval process. Okay, then what will happen is, the first time when you start it, the record gets locked. Okay, the record gets locked. Then initial submission means the record will get to locked steps. This is the one. Record will get, once you hit the start button, if it meets the criteria, it goes to the approval process. First time the record gets locked. Next thing that happen is step number 1. Who is the approval here? The approver one is, let's say Deepika Khanna. She is the approver. Okay, that if she rejects it, the record will go into the rejection and it will get unlocked. Okay, that will get unlocked. So somebody can change it and then submit it again. If the record gets approved, then the record will still remain to lock. Why? Because see, if there is a deal going on and if everyone has approved it, you don't want the deal to change, right? You don't want to make any changes. So still that deal will remain locked. But if you rejected it, then what will happen is you need to go ahead and make changes to the deal and submit it again. So then the record will go into the unlocked stat and then you will edit the changes and then it will go back again for the submission. What will happen in the approval process, guys? First time you submit the record, it goes to the lock stat. First time only the records which meets the criteria will enter the approval process. Okay, that's the first thing. Then it needs an approval from the manager. That's the second thing. Manager can approve it and reject it. If it rejects it, this record will go to the rejected status and it will get the unlock. The record will also get unlocked. The next step is it will go to the approval. If it got approved, the record will go to the approval status, and then what will happen is the record will still remain locked because you don't want to make changes because it is already approved. Okay, and then that's it. So this is a diagram which gives you a good picture. I wanted to go through. Okay, this is the picture. Entry criteria, yes, if that meets it, okay, start the approval process. Okay, then initial submission. Initial submission, record locked, etc. Okay, record will get unlocked. So this is the diagram that we have. And then what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and activate it. So we're going to go ahead and hit the activate button, click the OK. So now let's see what happens. I went ahead and created a position. Okay. So first thing is, let's say I created a position called Salesforce Cloud Consultant. Okay. Travel required, definitely yes. Functional area, information technology. Okay. My entry criteria says, first thing is if it is greater than 60,000. So it is greater than 60,000. Okay. Then hit the save button. So what happens is now there is a button here called submit for approval. Okay. You need to hit the button. Right now this record is not locked. The record is not locked. You're hitting it for submit for approval. Okay. Now, does it meet the entry criteria? Yes, so it will go through the process. Okay, it meets the entry criteria. So then what will happen is you will see that under the approval history, you will see that Deepika Khanna is the approver. Koti, did you get an email that okay, there is a position that you need to approve? Koti must have gotten an email because that's because Deepika's email is same as Koti's. So Deepika, on behalf of Deepika, he will get an email saying, okay, this is some position that you need to approve. Did you get an email, Koti? Okay. Okay, so you might get an email. And then this is what it is, Deepika Khanna, and then what we're going to do, submitted by Koti, and she is the one who needs to approve it. Okay, this is one thing. Let's see guys, if the entry criteria didn't meet. And also one more thing, if you go to the Salesforce Cloud Consultant, you will also see the record is locked now. See, the record is locked. You cannot make any changes. If you got here, you have been approved, and this is what it is there. Okay, so the record is in the locked status. Now let's say if I go back and I create a new position, and this time I create a Service Cloud Consultant. Travel required, yes. Okay, this time the position is 20,000 maximum pay. Okay, so it does not even meet the criteria. Our criteria is 50,000, greater than 50,000. Okay, hit the save button. Now there is still they're going to be submit for approval, but when you hit it, if you go ahead and hit it, see, it does not even go unable to submit because your record does not meet the entry criteria, so it doesn't need to be go to the any status or anything. Okay, this record does not meet the entry criteria or the initial submitters of the approval process. Okay, so if you go back to the particular one, Service Cloud, it is not locked because it does not go through any approval. It does not need any approval because it does not need any criteria. Did you meet it, guys? Did you understand what is the difference between entry criteria and what happens when you meet the entry criteria? When you meet the entry criteria, then you go to the approval process. If you have not meet the entry criteria, you don't need to get any approval. Okay. So this is what. Now if I log out and log in back again as Deepika Khanna, if I go and log in as Deepika Khanna, so if I go back here, what is the verification code, Koti? Nine eight three eight 98338. Okay, so if I go back here, and if you go, see there automatically she should see it under the home page. Okay, there is an item that she needs to approve. Okay, so this is the item. She can approve it, she can reject it. So these are the items that she needs to approve. So let's say if she clicks on here, oh, I can't go to the home. That's okay. So I'll go back to the recruiting and I'll go to my, okay, that's the problem. Okay, what we need to change, guys, here? What is the thing that is why she's not able to see positions? Can anyone help me with this? Why Deepika Khanna is not able to see the custom objects that she created? We have done this so many times. What we need to do now? We need to log in as Koti. Okay, there's something wrong with the profile, right? So we need to create another profile, give the changes. There is no read permission on those objects. That's why. So here we need to go to the profiles. We need to create a new profile. which is nothing but a clone of the standard user profile, which is nothing but the clone of standard user profile, and we call it as standard user recruiting profile, and hit the save button. And in this profile, what will I do? I will give all the read permissions on those custom objects. See, by default, those were not there. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the read permissions. Okay. And then hit the save button. And then I will go ahead and assign it to whom? I will go ahead and assign it to Deepika. So if I go back here, go to the user section, I will go to Deepika. I'll edit her and give her the profile of standard user recruiting and hit the save button. So now she also has the standard user recruiting. Now if I log out and log in back again as Deepika, what will happen is if you go to the position record for this particular position, she has a service cloud, I think Salesforce cloud consultant. Now she needs to approve this particular position. So if she goes and click on approve and reject, then what will happen is she can fill her comments. This is the information she sees. This is the comments, and then if she can approve it, then what will happen? This particular thing will get to approved status. She can reject it, then it will go to the, see, after the approval, it is still unlocked. Sorry, it's still locked. Okay. After the approval process, it's still unlocked. So now this particular position has moved to the approval status. So what happened was it's a one-step approval process, means it just only needs an approval from one person. Okay, means there is no two-step. It does not go further down. Okay, it just needs an approval from the manager, and based on his approval, the position will get to approved or reject. Okay. Any questions on using a jumpstart wizard of approval process, guys? Binish, Amya, Shikha, Koti. Any confusion? Okay, good. How about Koti? Is Shikha there? Okay, Koti, difference between standard versus jumpstart was, it was like a quick way of doing these things. It basically is, you don't specify a lot of information. It is basically just a quick one. Using a standard, I'll show you how does the standard looks like. Okay, you have to answer many stuffs. So I'll tell you what it is. If I go back and log in as Koti again, and let's create an approval process using a standard wizard. And in Jumpstart, you can only create one-step approval process. Okay, so if you go back here and I go ahead and create an approval process. Okay, so this was using the, you were just using the Jumpstart. Now we are going to go ahead and do the approval process. So let me deactivate this one. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new approval process using a standard setup wizard. The name is, let's say, approval from manager. Hit the next button. What is the entry criteria? The entry criteria is, this is who means use this approval process if this criteria meets. Okay, that's the first thing. In the Jumpstart, it didn't ask you as for this question. Okay. If only certain types of records should enter the approval process, that is the enter that criteria below. For example, only the expense reports from employees at headquarters should use this approval process. So that is only if you only want a particular condition to meet, this is the place that you have to provide the condition. So let's say if the position location is Texas, okay, if the location of the position, or let's say this position is a new status, okay, position equals new position. That is the criteria. Okay, if the position enters the new criteria, this is the entry criteria. No, I think that's not, this is not the better example. Okay, let me choose the maximum pay. If the particular greater than 100,000, hit the next button. Okay. So specify the approver field and the record editability properties. Now, when you define the approval process, this is important. When you define the approval process, you can assign the approval request to different users, right? You can assign it to different people. One of your option is to use a particular field on the user to automatically route these requests. Remember, there was a manager field you can pick up that, okay, whoever is the manager of this position will be able to approve it, okay? If you want to use that option for any of your approval process, you need to select a field from the pick list. So if you wanted to make sure that do you want the manager or do you want the whatever the hierarchical relationship we created. Let's say for the position, we have a hiring manager, right? So that is there's a relationship here. So hiring manager is nothing but a particular user. So if you want the hiring manager to be the approver for that position, then you can go ahead and select that one. Otherwise, for the standard objects, you have this manager. Or if you don't want, leave it as it is. Okay. Select a field. Also, when a record is an approval process, it will always be locked and only administrator will be able to edit it. However, you may choose to allow the currently assigned approver to edit the record. Okay, so you have an option of making it so if once you submit a record for the approval, it gets to lock status, means you won't be able to edit that record. But what happens is if you want, only administrator will be able to edit it. But if you want someone else to edit it, then means like the owner of the record or who is approving it, if you want him to edit it, then you can go ahead and you can go ahead and select this option. Okay, administrators or the currently assigned approver can edit the records. We don't want it right now, so we'll just leave it as this and hit the next. Okay. What is the email template? So the email template means if there is an email that you want to send, then this is going to be this is the email that we wanted to send to the approver, okay. So right now we have not selected any approver yet. Okay. Now this is what is this thing, guys? The approver page. So remember, guys, when Deepika went to hit the approve, there was a page that popped up and then there was a comment section below, right? Let's say there are certain important fields that you wanted to put it there when she approves it. Let's say she's interested, she doesn't want to go through the whole position. She wants to go through what is the location, what is the maximum pay, what is the status of the position. Those are the 3 fields that she just want a glimpse of it, okay? So you can add those fields in that page. Okay, you can add those fields in that page. Does that make sense, guys? So what you can do here is you can add those fields. So this is the place where you add that. So whenever the approver hits the approve button, there is a page that pops up. And what kind of information do you want on that page to be visible? You can set it up here. So what does it say? Let's say I wanted to make sure I'm interested in maximum. I'm interested in the status. And I'm interested in the okay, I'm interested in the status, I'm interested in the maximum pay, and let's say the functional area, that's also I'm interested in, and then the type of the position. So these are the fields I'm interested in to look at. So only the approver can see the whole position, but based on his time, if he doesn't have that much time, he wants just a quick glimpse. So these are the 5 fields that are which are important. Okay. Then approver, so display the approver history. If you want to do, if there's a lot of other people who needs to approve it, then you can display the approver history that this person has approved it, this person has rejected it and all that. Okay. Now security settings. Now there are 2 options, guys. Allow the approver to access the approval page only from within the Salesforce application. Okay, not from a phone or anything. He needs to be under the Salesforce application if he wants to approve or reject it. If you pick the second option, they will be able to access the approver or reject it through a phone. Like if they're on their phone, mobile devices, they can go ahead and take a look at that and they can approve it and reject it. If you don't want, you want to make sure that he is under the Salesforce application, then only he is able to access it. Then you can, this is a recommended way. Okay. You can make sure that he can access from a phone or anything. You can select the second option. Hit the next button. Who can submit the position for approval? Who can submit the button? See, I don't want everyone to submit. I only want specific people to submit the position. So you can select who can submit it. So let's say a particular role, these are the people who can submit the position. If let's say based on a particular user, only this person can submit the position. Or I will say position owner who has created the position should be able to submit it. So let's say if Koti is the owner of the position, he should be able to submit that particular position for approval. Okay. Or these are you can select whoever wants to submit the position. So this is the one. And then hit the save button. So now what we have done is we have created an approval process. We have created the approval process. However, you cannot activate this approval process until you have at least one approval step. Means, okay, who is the approver and what is the steps that you want to do it. So those are the things you need to do now. So see, in the jump start, we created the whole approval process in few seconds. There were not many these questions were asked. This is the standard wizard where it asks you a bunch of questions. What is the criteria? What fields the approver should see, okay, if he can see on the phone or if he cannot see on the phone, okay, those kind of stuff they were asking in standard wizard. Means there are a lot many steps you have to go through when you are creating an approval process using a standard wizard, and that is a recommended one. Jumpstart is more like, okay, quick, this is just like quick. Okay, hit the go button and then enter what is the approval step. Okay, approver. Okay, step number 1, hit the next button. Okay, this is the first step. All records should enter this criteria. Now, which records do you want to enter the criteria? So I want any records. So let's say what is my first entry criteria was greater than 50,000. Okay, so the second criteria is all the records which are greater than 80,000 should enter this criteria. Okay, this is my second thing. So now what I'm going to do is the field says if the position maximum pay is greater than, was it 100,000? I think. Okay, so if it's greater than 120,000, this is the criteria. Hit the next button. Okay, who is the approver? Okay, the approver would be okay. The approver would be, let's say, Deepika. She is the approver. Okay, and then hit the save button. Now, what would you like to do now? So once that particular thing has been, okay, now once that he is the approver, let's say we have to choose two entry criteria. The first one was greater than 100,000. So all those records which are greater than 100,000 will be the one who will enter the entry criteria. Then who needs an approval would be 120,000. Okay, that will need an approval from the Deepika. So any records which are greater than 120,000 will need the approval from Deepika. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. So what we have is, so now we have two entry criteria. First is this one. The second one is anything greater than 120 needs an approval from Deepika. Now let me show you what's going to happen. Then you'll get a better idea. So here, guys, let's say what should you do now? So let's say you have just created one approval step. You can create multiple. Okay. And you can also have workflow actions. Let's say if I wanted to fire an email, or if you wanted to create a task, or if you want to update a particular field, you can go ahead and do that. So next is, we don't want to do this. We'll just want to hit the go button. I don't want to do anything right now. Now let's take a look at the diagram. The diagram says it's a one-step approval process. Entry criteria meets. Yes, the first entry criteria is any records greater than 100,000. That is the first criteria. Start. Okay. The next one is the record will get to log status. Okay. And then the step 1 criteria. Who enters this criteria? This is another step criteria that, okay, any records greater than 100,000. This is the second criteria, 120,000. This one criteria is, this criteria is this one. Anything greater than 100,000 will enter it. Okay. Before that, everything will be kind of, Koti, can you hear me? Okay, so what I was saying was, so look at this diagram, guys. First thing is there are 2 criteria. Okay, when you hit the submit button, you need to be greater than 100,000. Then only you will be able to go through the approval process. Then once it goes to the approval process, the record will be locked. Okay, then what happens is there is a second criteria, like the first, like who needs an approval from the manager. So any records which are greater than 120,000, that needs an approval from Deepika. Okay, any records greater than 120,000, sorry, will need the approval from Deepika. Okay, if she rejects it, this position will get rejected and the record will be unlocked. If she accepts it, then the approval, it will go to the approval status and the record will be locked. This is what it is happening. So there are 2 criteria. Now let's see what happens. So I'm going to close it and I'm going to activate this one. Click OK. Now see what the whole diagram is here. Initial submission action is we have to lock the record. Then this approval step number 1 is approval from Deepika. The first thing is it needs to be greater than 100,000. Then you can enter the approval process. And if the record is greater than 120,000, then it needs an approval from the manager. Okay. Now let's see what happens. We go ahead and create a position, create a new position. Okay. And we say position 1, maximum pay is 80,000. Now tell me, will this even go through the entry criteria? What will happen now? Since it does not, because it is 80,000, our entry criteria is 100,000. Okay. So if you go ahead and hit the save button, who can submit for approval? The record owner can submit. So record owner is Koti. I'm logged in as Koti. I can submit for approval. Right now the record is unlocked. Once I hit the submit button, it does not meet the criteria. See, this page will pop up. Unable to submit for approval because it does not meet the criteria. Then if you go back again to this, you will see that it is still unlocked because it does not go through the approval process. Let's go ahead and create another position. Okay. This time, position number 2. This time what happens is, let's put it as 110,000. So this time it is still less than 120,000 for the approval process from Deepika, but it enters the criteria. Okay, so hit the save button. So we have created a second position which is 110,000, which is basically more than the entry criteria. We hit the submit for approval, but in this case what will happen, guys? It is automatically approved. Okay, it is automatically approved because anything greater than 100,000 was okay. It is automatically approved because it does not need any approval because it is not greater than 120,000. Once it is 120,000, then it will need an approval from the Deepika. Then she can approve it and reject it. Everything less than that will automatically get approved if it meets the entry criteria. Okay, so if we go to the position, if we create a third position here, position number 3. Okay, and this time it is 125. Now this time it will need the approval because it enters the approval criteria for the manager. So manager will only look at the positions which are greater than 120. The rest of them is automatically approved. So now if you hit the submit for approval, this time the record will go to the log status. Okay, it will automatically it goes to pending. So somebody needs to approve it. Deepika needs to approve it or reject it. Are you getting my point, guys? So this is what happened. We had the first entry criteria that was 100,000. this is the approved to enter the approval process, you need to be greater than 100,000. Anything less than that will not even enter. Once it is 100,000, if the record is greater than 120,000, then they need the approval from Deepika. Otherwise, they are automatically approved. Automatically approved. Now if I log it and log in back again as Deepika, now let's see what happens. If I log out and log in back again as Deepika, okay, if you go to the position, if you go to that particular go, and if you hit the position number 3, sorry, if you go to the home, your first thing is you will see, okay, you need to approve this position, okay. If I go ahead and click on approve and reject, see these are the, remember I told you what fields when you hit the approve button, these are the glimpse of those position that he'll see, Deepika will see. This, so we wanted maximum pay, we want the status, we wanted functional area and the type. These are the 4 fields that we selected that, okay, she should be able to take a quick glimpse at the position, and these are the important fields. And then she can approve it, she can reject it. Once it goes to the reject, let's say it goes, then the record will be unlocked. Okay. Once it is rejected, the record will get to unlocked. So Deepika has rejected the position. Are you following, guys? Binish, Amya, who is Sim Maulik? Why I'm getting a message from Sim? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, guys, then, okay, these are the, I don't know why Shikha comes and goes. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I was like, okay, there's someone else logged in. Okay, that's fine. So this is still one step approval process. Okay, but we ended up answering a lot of questions, a lot of stuff that we can decide. What is the entry criteria for the second one? Okay, and anything other than that will automatically be approved. Let's say we wanted something like this. We want a 2-step approval process, okay? And what happens is, if it is greater than 100,000, that is the first criteria, okay? That does not need any, this is the entry criteria. Okay, for the first approver, we need the records to be greater than 120,000. That is the second criteria. Once the record, let's say this is the, Deepika needs to approve it. Okay, Deepika needs to approve it. Now, they can approve it, she can approve it, she can reject it. If she approves it, let's say, if the record is greater than 150,000, if the record is greater than 150,000, then it needs an approval from Sim. That's the other person, Sim. Okay, Sim needs to approve it. So that is the 150,000. Okay, that is the second one. Then he can approve it, he can reject it. And if he rejects it, it will go to the reject phase. If he approves it, the record will be in the approved status. So what will happen here is, anything which needs 130,000 will need an approval from manager 1, means will need an approval from Deepika, but will not need an approval from him, from Sim. Okay, that will automatically be approved if Deepika approves it. If the record is 120,000, then what will happen is, automatically the position will get approved. If it is, sorry, if it is less than 120,000 but it is greater than 100,000, automatically will it get approved. It does not need Deepika to approve it. Okay, if the record is 170,000, okay, first approver, see, and first approver would be Deepika. She can approve, she will approve it, and then it will go to Sim, and then Sim will approve it. So there are 2 steps involved here. Okay. Okay, so this is a 2-step approval process. We'll need approval from 2 people. Now let's create this approval process, and with this, probably the approval process will finish. Okay, this is the main thing. So now if I log out and log in back again as Koti, okay, I logged out and log in back again as Koti, and then what will I do? I'll go to the position object, sorry, approval process, setup, Now here, if you go back and if you create an approval process, okay, so I've deactivated all the approval process. Position object, create new approval process using the standard setup wizard. What is the rule name? Two-step approval process. Okay, next. What is the entry criteria? Okay, what is the criteria? Any record which is greater than 100,000, those are the only one which will go through the approval process. Everything else does not even go for the approval process. Okay. We don't have any approver, just leave it as it is. Administrators only can edit it. Next. Is there an HTML template you want to send? Yes. Hit the next button. What information the approver will see? Okay, when he's approving it, what information do you want him to see? So maximum, minimum pay, and functional area. Okay, and if there is another one, status, let's say. These are the things that the approver will see on the approver page. Okay. If you want to display the approver history, you can do that. Okay, hit the next button. Who is the approver? Who can submit for approver? Sorry, this is the place to submit. Who can submit it? So position owner will be able to submit it. Who has created the position? If you want a particular role to only submit it, then you can go ahead and select it. Role and subordinate means if manager and whatever people below the manager will be able to submit it. Hit the save button. We only want position owners. Hit the save button. Okay, now what is the next step you want to do it? So do you want to have a workflow or anything like that? No. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to create an approval step. So my first criteria is entry criteria I have selected. I have selected who can submit for approver. I've also picked up what are the fields the approver is going to see. Now the next step is who is the approver. First step approval process. Okay. So the first will be approval from Deepika Khanna. Okay, this is step number 1. Hit the next button. Now, all records should enter this criteria. So if everything greater than 100,000, okay, if everything greater than 100,000 should go through this, okay, or any records which are greater than 120,000, only then they should enter this Deepika, otherwise they'll automatically will be approved. Okay, whatever you want to do it. So let's say I wanted to make sure that, and else approve it, else approve the record. So if this particular criteria meets, if the maximum pay is greater than 120,000, okay, the maximum pay is greater than 120,000, then only go through me, otherwise automatically approve it. Okay, hit the next button. This is the second entry criteria for Deepika Khanna. Greater than, okay. Next. So who is the approver, guys? The approver is going to be Deepika. Okay, we needed another approver. So save. Now, once the person approves it, do you have to create a workflow? You can create it. If someone rejects this, do you want to do anything? Otherwise, you can go to the approval step and hit the go button. This is one step still. Now let's say I wanted to create another step here. So let's say first approval will be from Deepika Khanna. Okay. Any position which is greater than 120,000 will need an approver, else everything else will get approved. Okay. This is my second criteria. So this is the second. Now let's say I have another user in my application. Okay. I need to create, first of all, create a user. Okay. I'll create a new user. It's called Sim. Like, email is Koti. Koti, what is your? No, what is your email? Okay. Okay. What's the profile? You get a standard platform user license. Okay, hit the save button. Koti, can you set up the password for him? And in the meantime, I will go ahead and change his profile. Okay, so I'll go back to the profile. I will go ahead and create a new profile, which will be a clone of the Salesforce platform user profile, which is Salesforce platform. Where is it? No, standard platform user, sorry. It's called standard platform recruiting. Okay, thank you, Koti. Hit the save button. And let's go ahead and edit this one. And what we're going to do here now, we're going to go ahead and give them all these. Okay, hit the save button. And now I'm going a little fast because this you already know. Okay, we have done it so many times now. So edit this one. And then we're going to give this profile to him. Okay, so now we have created the user. We have already set him up. Now what we want to do is we wanted to create a two-step approval process. Okay, so we'll go back to our approval process that we were working on it. So we'll go to this approval process here. And in this approval process, we will go to the one which is this one, two-step approval process. And here I wanted another approver. So new approval step. So if this is the first approval step, this is the second. Okay, so now approval from SIM. Okay, now which all criteria should enter him? Okay, which all records should enter? Not all records. Enter this, not all records, any records which are greater than 150, they will only need the approval from him. Okay, so any records, so you know what it is means. Any records which are greater than 150, those are the ones will need an approval from him. Everything else will automatically be approved. Okay, so who is the approver here? The approver will be, in this case, would be Simoluk. So he is the one who is going to approve it. Okay, and so there one user, we have it, approve this one. And reject behavior, what you want to do when somebody rejects it. Okay, you can do this. If there is a final rejection process, you can go to this and then hit the same button. So what will happen here is any record which is greater than 150,000 will go from Simoluk and he needs to approve it or reject it. Okay, hit the save button. And then I'll do this later and hit the go button. Now this is the two-step approval process. Okay, now better understanding of this, you need to go through the diagram. Okay, the diagram says there are two-step approval process, guys. The first is entry criteria. What is the entry criteria? Only the records which are greater than 100,000 will enter this. Okay, it goes to the start. Okay, then we have the record will get locked. The first step is who needs an approval from Deepika. So the records which are greater than 120,000 will need the approval from Deepika. Everything else will automatically be approved. So approval from Deepika. Okay, if she rejects it, right away the record will get rejected and that's all. If she approves it, and if she approves it, then there's a second criteria. Second criteria is if the records are greater than 150,000, then they also need the approval from SIM. Okay, approval will need it from SIM. If they does not meet the criteria, let's say the record is only 140,000, that means only Deepika has to approve it. Okay, and Deepika has approved it. It is greater than 140,000, 120,000, so Deepika needs to approve it, and it is less than 150,000, so everything else will automatically be approved. SIM does not need to manually approve it. Let's say if the record is 170,000, so first criteria is greater than 120,000, so it needs an approval from Deepika. If Deepika approves it, then it will go to SIM because it is greater than 150,000 also. So then SIM will decide does it needs to approve it or does it needs to reject. Okay, so this is a two-step approval process. Okay, now approval from SIM will be needed. He can reject it. The record will go to the unlocked status and it will be rejected. If it approves it, the record will still remain approved and the position will get approved. This is a two-step approval process. Okay, the step number 1 and the step number 2. Any questions on this one? Okay, now let's go ahead and test this one. So we're going to go ahead and make sure it is activated. Click the activate button. Okay, so there are two approval steps. Okay, if the position is greater than 120,000, it needs an approval from Deepika. If it is greater than 150,000, it also needs an approval from Sim. So Deepika will be there and also Simran will be there. So if I go back here, position, create a new position here, position number 4. Okay, function area, information technology, status is new position, type is full-time. Okay, maximum pay is 130. So let's say it's less than 90,000. It's 90,000. So it doesn't even meet the criteria. It does not even need to go through the approval process. Okay, hit the save button. Who can submit it? Owner can submit it. So submit for approval. Click OK. Does not need any entry, does not meet the criteria, so it does not even go through the position. Okay, second thing, position number 5. What is it? Functional area, human resources, type is full-time, status is new position. This one, 100, 10,000. Okay, it does not even need an approval. It meets the criteria, so it will go through the approval process. Okay, but it is less than 120,000, so automatically everything else less than 120,000 is going to get approved automatically. Okay, hit the save button. Then it will go ahead and approve it automatically. Submit for approval. You need to submit the button, submit the position, and automatically it will be approved. Why? Okay, who was the approver? Koti was the approver. Didn't I pick Deepika? Let's see what happens. Okay, Koti approved because actual approver assigned to Koti. I don't know if I picked Deepika or Koti. If I go to the position, create a new position here and we call it as position number 6. Then functional area, new information technology, type is full-time, status is new, maximum pay is 130,000. It needs the approval from Deepika. Okay, but it does not need the approval from Sim. So we submit for approval. This one needs the approval from Deepika. Okay, approval from Deepika. So this needs the approval from Deepika, but it does not need the approval from Sim because it is less than 150. Now, if I go ahead and log out and log in back again as Deepika, then I will see on the home page that I need to approve this. Okay, this is the position that I need to approve. Now here are the fields that I see. Maximum pay, minimum pay, functional area which I picked, the status, etc. I can approve it, I can reject it. Let me approve it. Now once this position is approved, it does not need any other further approval. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to log out and create a new position, and this time it will be greater than 150,000. So I'll go back here, I'll create a new position. We'll call it as position number 7. Functional area, IT, type, full-time. Maximum pay, guys, is let's say 170,000. Okay, this needs the approval from Deepika. Then it also needs the approval from Sim. So we'll go ahead and hit the save button. Submit for approval. Click OK. First approval will be Deepika. If she has rejected it, it won't even go to Sim. Okay, so first thing is only Deepika. So now if I go ahead and log out and log in back again as Deepika, okay, then what will happen is if I log out and log in back again as Deepika, I need to approve it or reject it. Once I approve it, guys, then it will go to Sim. Once I approve it, then it needs the approval from Sim. See, this one is, then it needs the approval from Sim as well. Now what will happen is, so first thing is only needs the approval from Deepika. If she rejects it, it doesn't even go to Sim. Okay, it automatically will get rejected. If she approves it, then it needs the approval from Sim because this record position maximum is greater than 150,000. So then it needs the approval from SIM. So what I'm going to do here is I need to log out and log in back again as SIM. Login. Code the verification code, please. So now if you go to the home page, okay, he does not have the permission probably. Okay, that's fine. We will, what happened to recruiting positions? Go. If you go to the position number 7, then it needs to approve. Okay, so if I go to the approver, this is the information he's going to see, and you can approve it and reject it. Okay, if it goes to reject, then the record will be unlocked and you will be able to change. If it's approved, then the record will go to the approved status. Okay, so now both of them has approved it. So this is about the approval process. Any questions on this one? Anyone, guys? Okay.
Deepika, what kind of questions do we get in
Okay,
the test?
so the question that you're going to get is basically, first thing is the anonymous thing that I told you. When you have those things, that is the first question, like, okay, what does that mean? Second thing would be the entry criteria, like, what do you mean by the entry criteria? Like, they will give that, okay, will it enter the criteria or not? If the record is greater than 70,000 and the entry criteria is this, will it even enter the submit for approval? And you hit the submit for approval, what is going to happen? Okay. Then those are the kind of questions. Then if it's, what is the difference between the first or the, let's say you have an option of radio button saying first, and like the first approval is only needed. So what is, those kind of questions will come, like you will be this, you have seen the whole screen, but the question will be like one of these, like, okay, what happens when you select this one, anonymous? This is one of the common questions that comes every time. Second one is first or the if you have selected this radio button, okay, first or everyone's response is needed. Next one is basically can be the workflow action. Like, if you have created created an approval process, will you be able to decide the workflow action for each of them? Yes or no? So will you be able to decide the workflow actions associated with the approval process? And let me see if these are the mostly the questions that come from the approval process. But what I want you to do is, see, I gave you the overall picture of approval process. What I expect from you is you need to go ahead and go through each of those options. Remember, I told, if I log out and log in back again as this one, what I want you to do is, so you need to figure out those different ways when you check the first or reject basis. Remember, there were 2 radio buttons. You need to play with those radio buttons. Every time we have selected one of the radio button, right? So you need to go ahead and see what happens when you pick the other one. Okay, what happens when you have the Salesforce message is there? Like, remember, the question will come, which is a recommended way, allowing it through the Salesforce. So the question can come is, can you able to approve or reject a position through a phone? Okay, so that means if the radio button is selected, yes, you will be able to do that, but there is an option to do it. So these are the yes or no kind of questions might come. So basically the questions would be like, you've seen everything, but you need to kind of, the questions will come, okay, what happens when you do this? Okay, and they will be very scenario based. The questions will be like, okay, if in an organization, you need to make sure that if a position gets approved and it needs to approve from all the people, what option you should select. If you want, let's say it needs the approval through a phone, if somebody can approve through the phone, there is an question called delegate. Delegate is someone, let's say you are off, okay, there is a radio button which selects that, okay, do you want this position to get approved from your delegator. Delegator means, let's say you're on vacation and you have assigned someone else to take care of your positions for your role for a couple of weeks. So then will he be able to approve on your behalf? Okay, will he get an email if he approves it on your behalf? Those kind of questions will come. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to go ahead and play more with this approval process. I gave you just a complete picture of how you can create approval process, what is the entry criteria, what happens when you select this, but you need to go ahead and play around at least. Same with the workflows. So if you go to the workflow, guys, we talked about the independent workflows. Then you need to see, okay, what happens in time dependent. Okay, what are the options that you have in time independent one? Those kind of things might come. Did it help you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Any question? So I will request you to go ahead and play with the same wizard again with the approval process and with the workflows, because a lot of questions come from these two topics. Okay. The two things that we are left. Did I talk to you about assignment rules, guys? I think I covered assignment rules.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So there are two things that are left. One is the reports and then app exchange. Okay, and both these topics will be able to complete it tomorrow. App exchange is small, and then we have reports. So those are the two more topics that are left. I think everything else I've covered. Okay.
When are we going to cover seeded things?
Which one?
We want seeded Salesforce, like, the lead opportunity, those things.
Oh, that is also there. Okay, that's also there. Then yeah, we have to. Yeah, reports and dashboards is the same topic, Shikha. And okay, I will try to, tomorrow in the first thing, I'll try to walk you through the whole window, like leads and opportunities, and then we'll talk about reports and dashboards. Okay?
Okay. And can you share that online access that you have in Udemy or something?
Okay. So I'll create a code which you guys can use it. Okay? Then I'll send it to you. And did you guys meet last week and kind of discuss everything, or you didn't get a chance to meet? You were planning on meeting, right?
Yeah, they didn't get a chance to meet.
Okay. And did you get a chance to go through the questions? That some of the questions were familiar with you?
We didn't. We planned it, and somehow we didn't meet. Actually, maybe you guys were busy.
Okay. So, okay, guys. Then that's all I was planning to discuss today. And tomorrow we'll have reports, dashboard, and app exchange. Okay, let me cover app exchange if you guys are okay with that.
Okay. You guys are okay, guys? Dinesh and Daniel?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So what is this app exchange? App exchange is just like on your phone, you have App Store. Okay, you on your Google you have on your Android you get a Play Store, and on Google you have an App Store. So similarly, there is an app exchange. App exchange is nothing but a place where you can install some of the apps. Okay, and those apps you can make it little more cooler. You can make your Salesforce look a little more beautiful. So what does that mean by that is, let's say you go to your account, and this is the place to access the app exchange. Okay, and in this you will see a lot of free apps. There might be apps that you need to pay for. Okay, so you have these. This is the way to go to the app exchange. So you go to the drop down and you click on app exchange, and this is the different apps that you can use for your Salesforce. Okay, you can categorize them. There are different editions. So you need to make sure that, see, you're in developers edition. So some apps will only be work under professional edition. So it doesn't make sense, because you have a developer edition, you need to make sure that which apps are for your developer edition. Okay, these are the different apps that we have. Okay, I'll show you a couple of apps, how you can install it and what is the purpose of those. So they are based on different categories. If you work in sales, there is sales apps are there. If you work in customer service, there are apps related to customer service are there. So depending upon different, basically it's kind of easier effort, and it makes things a little cooler. Okay, so let's say there is a very important app called Opportunity Planning Wall. okay, there is an app called Opportunity Planning Wall. Okay, this what it does is, let's say you go to the opportunities. There is a place for, if you go up here, there's a place called opportunities. Okay, now in this you get all the opportunities that are there for this organization. Okay, now let's say you wanted to make it a little cooler. You wanted to have little color coding here. So there is an app available to do that. That is called the Opportunity Planning Wall. Just like in your app store, you can install it. Similarly, you can do it here. So you go ahead and say this one, get it now, click on the get it now button, and every app comes with a demo. So you need to like a demo that how you can use it, and then there is a details page which gives you more information about the app, and also it comes with an installation guide. Okay, what to do after you have installed this app. So this is the installation guide. You need to make sure that you install it every time and you take a look at it and you go through the installation guide step by step, and it will tell you what it is going to, how you can install the app. Okay, so this every app, most of the app will come with an installation guide or a reference guide or something. And on the right you can see this is the different editions that is this particular app is available for. It is available for developer, group, professional, enterprise. Hit the get it now button if you want to see the reviews. This is the place. If you want to contact the provider, okay, and all those kind of stuff, you can take a look at this. Just like an app store, you know, this is the same thing. You click on get it now button, then what will happen is log into App Exchange. So you click on this, it'll be able to, they'll ask you for username, password. I think you're already logged in, so it won't ask you for username, password again. So logged in here. Okay, where you want, install in production or install in sandbox. Okay, sandbox is nothing but a copy of the production database. Let's say I wanted to install in production. So you hit the install in production button. And then I've read the terms and conditions, confirm and install. Okay, I log in here. So now you basically, okay, install for admins, install for all users, or install for specific profiles. So do you want this opportunity wall to be available to everyone or only admins? So you can make sure that, okay, I want it for everyone. So I have selected the install for all users. It might take a couple seconds. Okay, hit the done button. So now there are two different packages. In this is the type of the package, guys, is the managed package, and there is unmanaged package. Managed package means you cannot make changes after it has been created for you. Means this particular app has been provided by third party. Now third party doesn't want you to change anything. So that is why you will not be able to change anything on this app. You can only able to use it. So this is our opportunity planning wall. Now the thing is, if you go back to your opportunities, there is still nothing happens. It's still the same view that you get. Okay, this is the same view. There is no button or anything. Now we'll take a look at the installation guide and see what we can do. So we have logged in. This is the old installation guide because it's, and a lot of things has changed since then. So but we can easily figure it out. So now if I go ahead and scroll down, I have made it available. I have access to all the users. Okay. Next thing I did was I've installed it. Okay. So now I have installed it, and then this is what my looks like. So so now I have to go to the search layout. So first thing is, so now I've installed it, and now I have to go to the search layouts. Okay. So I'll go to my opportunities, go to the setup here. It asks me for search layouts under the opportunity. So I went to the search layout under the opportunity. Okay, what next? Let's go back here. Okay, after the search layouts, there is an opportunity list view. Do you see opportunity list view? Click on the edit button. Wait a minute. Yeah, sorry, I was in the wrong one. So you have to click on the opportunities list view. That's what it is saying. Click on the opportunities list view. Next thing it asks you is, okay, the next thing it tells you is, okay, there is a button, you move it on the right hand side. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. You move this button on the right hand side, okay, and hit the save button. This is the installation process. Okay, so now you have installed a opportunity planning wall. Let's go to the opportunities now. If you click on go, there is a button that came up which is called opportunity open planning wall, because of that app that we have just installed and we have configured it. So now we click on this, guys, you will see a different view of the opportunities, like a more color coded view. Okay, so here you can refresh it. That will basically refresh with the new information. You can see that, okay, it has kind of categorized under the different accounts. Okay, for edge communication we have 3 opportunities. For express logistics we have these 3 opportunities. So basically it is a more better view, and it gives you like a good, what is the status here, what are all those things. If you wanted to filter by one, so you can filter it by those. Okay, these are the different. This is one of the app that Salesforce has provided you. This is basically opportunities planning wall, which basically makes your opportunities looks more colorful, and you can easily figure out which one you need. Okay, this is one of the app people use. Any questions how to install it and how to configure it? It's very simple. Next thing that we have here is, there is another one that we have is this one. If we go back to the App Store, we've already installed this app, we don't need it. And then if I go back to my App Store one more time, there is another one that we have. What was that? There is one for Facebook and all those, and there is another one for UI. Let me see the field tracking. There is another one was field tracking. Field tracker or something like that. Field history tracking. Forgot the name of the app. Okay, field trip. So this is the one, field trip. So now if you go ahead and click, so what does this app does is basically, let's say guys, there are fields in you have created a lot of fields in an object, right? And let's say people don't even put values for those fields. Let's say you under the position object, you have 20 fields for capturing position name, maximum pay, minimum pay, status, functional area, responsibilities, skills required, etc. But when user types in, as it creates a position, he sometimes doesn't even answer responsibilities. Okay, so those are the fields, they've never populated the values. So what you can do is, this app will help you to figure out, okay, in this particular object, these are the fields people have never put a value. Then you can see, okay, we don't need those kind of fields then. People don't use it that often. So we can get rid of those. So that will help you to take a better decision on those things. You know what I'm saying? So this is an app to tell you, okay, this particular object on this particular field never been used. So you can make a better decision. We don't need to get rid of those, and which one is better. Most of the time people use it. So you get an idea of which fields are used that often. So you click on Get It Now button here. Okay, and then there is an installation guide also. So let me go ahead and open the installation guide before I do anything else. So this is a quick start guide. So you click on the quick start guide, have it ready for you. Where is it? Okay, this is the quick start guide. Okay, so let me just keep it like that. And then I'll go ahead and I'll install this one. Get It Now. Install in production. Confirm and install. Okay, logged in as Koti. Now it's going to go ahead and install this field trip one for us. Install for all user, hit the install button. It'll take a couple seconds, but let's take a look at the installation guide. So we don't need to do this. Okay, so it tells you that, okay, this particular field has been used this many times. Okay, so you can run the reports, create a new field trip. So it tells you first you need to create a new field trip. What you have to do is go to the field trip tab will be created, then go to create a new field trip and then analyze it and then run the reports. Okay, so this is what you have to do. Let me go back. Okay, so I think installation is done. Hit the done button. Okay, now what you will see is if you go to the plus section here, there is a field trip. Okay, there is a field trip got added. Okay, there's a field trip got added. You click on the field trip. Let's say I wanted to analyze position object. Okay, so you go ahead and say give your field trip a name. So let's say position fields. These are the ones that I wanted to make sure. What is the select the position object. So basically what is the object that you want to track? Okay, now here you can analyze only a subset of your records. Let's say you wanted to see where the position name is this, or where created by is greater than whatever. So you can have a you can select all the positions, or you can filter it by a query. Let's go ahead and save and analyze it. It has started it. Has begun the page. Okay, so now it has started it, it has finished it. It might take a couple of seconds, but you will be able to. So it's in completed status. Now here, when you go to this one, position fields, this is the field trip, and here it tells you, okay, these are the different fields under the position object. Okay, and these are the times that people have provided the value for it. Let's go to the all list. Now this tells you, okay, these are the fields on the position object, and this, see, all these fields never even have been used. Okay, all these fields have never been used either. ID, no one has populated the value, is deleted, no one has talked about, last activity, no one has, so we can, Java C, no one has provided the value for these. Okay, so these are the custom fields, never somebody has ever used it. So this is basically the field trip. You have got an idea. Now, not only this, you can even create reports on this. Reports means you can see, okay, when you go to the setup now, if you go to the, so once this tells you, okay, these are the fields which have been used most. So now if I wanted to go back, you can even create reports on these kind of stuff. So to do that, we'll go back to the I don't know if I have reports. And here, this particular, if you want to create a new report, you will be able to see the field trip. Okay, so there is, because since you have added the field trip for the position, you can see the field trip analysis here. Okay, so you can go ahead and take a field trip history or anything. So you can take a look at, you can create reports on these, and then it will tell you, okay, these are the fields which never have been populated and all those kind of things. So you can run the report based on those values. Okay, so you have field trip fields. We'll go through the reports tomorrow, but I just want to give you a quick what is the percentage last analyzed, when was it last analyzed, filter, custom, field trip name. And then we have, let me go back to the history one. I think this is the reports. You can create a history on those. We have field trip with field analysis. This is the one. Go ahead and hit the create button since you have added a field trip on the position object. So then it'll tell you how many times this field has been populated, the percentage. It tells you about, okay, if you wanted to arrange it on the basically in the order or descending order, you can arrange it. So these are the fields never been used, so you can run the reports. Okay, so you can see that, okay, these are the, you can get a better idea of, okay, no one has ever used those top fields. So this is one of the app that helps you to analyze which fields have been used most, and you can create field trips for n number of objects. So if I go back here and I go to my plus here and I wanted to create a field trip to analyze candidate objects, so you can go ahead and create a field trip for the candidate. So you can go ahead and analyze the candidate fields, and then there's a candidate object. So you go ahead and select the candidate, hit the save button. If you have a particular records you wanted to analyze, you can hit the analyze button here, and then it'll start the analysis of all the fields of the candidate object, and then it will tell you, okay, once you have done, back to the field trip, and then you will be able to see, okay, these are the records, people have never used it, okay, and go to all the list, and you can easily figure out that which fields you don't need anymore because no one has ever provided the values. Okay, this is another app people use. Any questions how to install it, how to do those kind of stuff? Okay, there is another one which there's another app which is very important, people use it a lot, which is basically, let's say you wanted to post something on Twitter, you wanted to post something on Facebook. What you can do is, if you post anything on Chatter, automatically it will post on your Twitter wall, on your Facebook wall. You can do that. So there is a very popular app which is basically called the social networking or something. Let me go ahead and see. But you need to configure that app. So what I have to do, you go to the app exchange. This is very interesting. You can just have to follow the installation guide. So you have to go here, and there is a social something, social Facebook or social app is there. Okay, I think it was called Facebook, Salesforce for Facebook or something. Yeah, Salesforce for Twitter and Facebook. Okay, so this is there. Here what you can do is, every time you write something here, you will be able to see that, okay, it got posted on the Twitter wall or on your Facebook page, etc. So you can see those, you can post it on Twitter and all those kind of stuff. So you can take a look at it, and you can basically install it, and there is an installation guide that you probably can refer it, and then you will be able to put something. The questions that come from here is, the app exchange is basically what categories are there, what this particular app does. You don't have to know every app, but there are a few common ones that you might take a look, like the one I showed you, opportunity one, and there's a field trip one is good. There's another one called metadata one. There is one for, if on the home page there is an app that you can have calendar here. Okay, you can have calendar, you can have tweets here, so you can make it more customized. Okay, you can have a nice calendar looking, you can have a clock from different countries. There are different apps out there, so you can take a look at many apps. But this is generally how app exchange is for, what it does, and how you can make your Salesforce application look more neat and clean and more functional. Okay, so that's what the app exchange overview is. And the course that I'm going to share with you, I have installed 2 more in that course, so you can even take a look at those 4. That will be kind of 4 total apps for you to take a look at. Did you find it interesting, the app exchange thing?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so go ahead and take a look at it, and I'll send you my course like in the next 15 minutes.
Thank you, Deepika.
No problems. Any question? Okay, Shikha, company name, you can put it anything. Does not have, you can put NERP also. Okay? So company name is basically when you're actually working and what company you are from, you can provide that, but you can just provide NERP. Okay guys, any questions, Binesh and Amya? Okay, and I will give you an idea on what roles as an admin you need to do. You basically, as an admin, you should be good in communication. So because you are the one who will be making the requirements, you need to analyze those requirements, and you need to basically work on those. So it will be more of customer facing role as compared to developer. Developer will be like sitting at their cube and working. You will be the one who will be interacting with the customer. You will be the one who will be creating the requirements document. You will be the one who is going to talk to subject matter experts and create a report on what things needs to be done. Those kind of things will be admin. So, and then only admins should know what Salesforce application can do, out of the box features can do. You don't have to create anything of your own. You need to learn more about what Salesforce application features are, what we have talked about, how to create approval process, validations. Those are the things you will be working on a job. You don't have to work on how to create a Visualforce page, or you don't have to work on programming. You just need to use those requirements, and you need to maximize time. You need to find where you can use the out of the box features. See, if you can do something with workflow, you don't have to create a class or a program to do that, what workflow can automatically do. So you need to only do things which you cannot do through the Salesforce features. That's when the developer comes into picture. But if you need to make sure that if something that you can do through the point and click, you don't need to code that. Okay. So tomorrow what we're going to do is, tomorrow we'll talk about reports and dashboards, and I will give you a quick overview of this whole standard objects, because a lot of some questions come from that topic as well. So I'll give you a quick overview on what leads does, what contacts, what opportunities are, and then we'll talk about reports and dashboards. And then if someone has any questions, then we can discuss about those. Okay, but the main focus would be, the agenda for tomorrow would be these two topics.